Hi there, my name is Steve Gearhart and this is the Unagi Observer. Thank you so much for stopping by this week and watching the video. I've got a fun little video for you guys. And I'm going to talk about OnCon 5 just for a little bit and how much fun I had with that. And then I'm going to go on into a review of Gen Con. And then after that, I'm going to have a little video and it's going to show you the swag that I got from the OnCon 5 charity auction. And I'm going to show you some of the swag that I got from Gen Con. It's not much, a couple things. And but then I'm going to show you some pictures and a couple of videos of Gen Con itself, Gen Con 2021. So stick around to the end of the video and let's get into it. Let's start talking about OnCon 5. So, OnCon 5. This is more of a description of what happened than an actual review because I don't feel it's fair to do a review if you're an active participant of it. So, basically, for those of you who don't know what OnCon is, it's an online convention, OnCon. And it started shortly after lockdown when all the, pretty much in-person cons started shutting down. We all wanted something to do, and Brent Newhall over at Anime Archaeology decided to put together this little convention online, last a day. And we've been doing 5 of them. This was the 5th one we've done since, I think, a year ago this past March. And they're fun. They're a lot of fun. It's really easy, and it's free. Free. You don't have to pay nothing. So, so you just show up and you get to watch. And so this time around, things were slightly a little bit different. We had an agreement with Nozomi Entertainment to kind of show their stuff over on the Twitch channel at the same time while we were doing things on the YouTube channel. But for some reason, we think it's because we hosted the con on 9/11. We think that maybe they were just a little, maybe not this time. So we didn't, unfortunately, have the anime there, but that's okay. We'll reach out to them again, or Brett will. My role, by the way, in all this is just kind of moderate chats, kind of help out with the stuff behind the scenes a little bit, and, moral support. Anyway, so we didn't, unfortunately, have that, but we had great panels. I say great because, I had one. And OnCon is usually themed. This theme was about war and basically war and peace. And my panel was about how the war, World War II, affected so many of the artisans of what we know in anime, manga, and film. But we didn't just have that. We had all sorts of wonderful panels. Brent did a couple. He talked about Gundam, which is really very interesting for my fellow mecha heads out there. He does a great job on that kind of stuff. He talked also about how anime are made. So going from cell production, digital, and talking all about that. The really really cool minutia geek kind of thing, and that was really fun. And then we had Ginger Gaiden, who is always producing these amazing videos. She's got a YouTube channel, as does Brent, of course. It's Anime Archaeology. I'll put the links down below for those guys. And Ginger Gaiden, she just does these wonderfully beautiful panoramic videos of where she's at in Japan. She is living in Japan right now. She is American. She just got trapped there because of COVID. Darn the luck. Anyway, she has these wonderful videos, and so she was talking about Girls und Panzers and, the relationship of that to tourism, which was really cool. I hope you guys check it out, because that's the other cool thing about OnCon, is that we archive, yes, we archive the panels. So the YouTube portion of it is always archived. You can go back at Anime Archaeology and find them back there if you want to. So I hope you go back and watch OnCon 5, because some of the stuff is really, really cool. In addition to that, we also do a thing called a charity auction, and this charity auction goes towards the dormitory project. For those of you who know, animators in Japan don't get paid very well, and it's really hard to have a living situation and doing a full-time job where you don't get paid very well. So the idea of the dormitory project is to provide housing for some of these new animators coming into the field, so they don't just give up, right? Because that's the fear, is that pretty soon they're going to be like, it's just not worth it, and then suddenly we won't have anime, which we do not want. So the money from the charity auction goes to that thing. So the charity auction, you'll see the swag that I won from that. But basically, you get the idea. We do an online auction, and it's kind of fun. People get to bid. Do a little bidding war. And one of the top bidding items that we have are cookies. Now, I know this sounds weird, but for some reason, it's a thing, and we enjoy it on Con. I enjoy it personally, where there's a segment for about 45 minutes or so when Brent makes cookies online, live. Just, he's talking about making the cookies, how to make the cookies. He brings out his utensils. We're watching him make it, and we sometimes ask questions or throw comments out there, and maybe he'll respond to it or answer the questions as he's making the cookies. And they always look awesome, and they always taste awesome. I won them once, and I won them again. Yes, I got cookies. Yay! Anyway, so that's also part of OnCon. That's kind of a little tradition there. And so that kind of gives you if you haven't seen an OnCon, that kind of gives you a snapshot. The next one we will be announcing when that will be pretty soon here. And there might be something a little bit different about OnCon 6. I'm not sure. We're still working it out. May not pan out, so we might just whatever. But yeah, there's going to be another OnCon. So stay tuned for that information. So as you can tell, as excited as I am about it, it is a fun thing to do. Again, I can't do a review because I'm part of it and I'm kind of biased towards it just because I'm, get to help out a little bit and I get to be involved and talk to all sorts of people and from all around the world. That's the other cool part is we get people from Britain, Sweden, Japan, everywhere coming in and taking a look and saying hi and hello and that's the other part is on the YouTube portion of it, we have the live chat going the whole time. So, you can just jump in there and start typing away if you want. So keep and look out for OnCon 6. So I hope you can feed off of my excitement and then, and attend future OnCons because I would love to see you there. I always try to do a panel for these things because they're a lot of fun for me. And, so... Not a review, but I'm telling you, gotta see an OnCon. All right, let's go on to a actual proper review of Gen Con 2021. Gen Con 2021. Now, I have always heard about Gen Con because I have been playing Dungeons & Dragons off and on throughout my life since I was 10. So I'm aware of this convention, and it's been around for a while. And it has grown and grown and grown. It's a huge gaming convention. That's the other thing is that just wanted to let you guys know this is a primarily, almost exclusively about gaming. Not just RPG, but gaming in general in terms of tabletop gaming. We're not talking about Genshin Impact or anything like that. We're talking, Dungeons & Dragons, board games, card games, those kinds of things. Warhammer, that kind of stuff. So I've never been to Gen Con. One of the reasons why I've never been to Gen Con is because it's out in the Midwest. I live on the East Coast. For those of you who don't know, I live in Baltimore, the city of Baltimore. And no, it's not like The Wire. We have our problems, but it's not The Wire. Okay, I'm just going to leave it at that. Anyway, Gen Con has always been something in the back of my mind. I've been like, I've always been meaning to wanting to get out there someday, right? Someday. And that someday never came around. So COVID happened, and as I like to tell people, as I talk to them about what my plans for 2020 were for this channel. And my original game plan for 2020 was that I was just going to go convention. Like, I was going to go to as many local conventions as I could afford. I wasn't going to be able to travel outside where, requiring plane tickets and things like that much, but just here. And I was fixing to, and I still am actually thinking about joining the Baltimore Science Fiction Society because they do a lot of convention-y kind of stuff too. So anyway, I was going to do all these different conventions, and then COVID hit, and right. So that's the reason why I'm so excited about OnCon. But anyway, little OnCon plug. Anyway, so Gen Con has always been in the back of my head. So as we're, realizing that I'm not going to go to any real in-person conventions, I could save up my money to do a trip. And Gen Con did not come to the front of my mind. So I'm, not really thinking about that. I'm kind of thinking, what do I want to do? Do I want to do this? Is COVID going to stop me from doing things? That kind of stuff. And then Brent Newhall, of course, over at Anime Archaeology, he and I talk on Discord a lot and, on Zoom and things. And he was like, you really should check out Gen Con. It looks like they're going to have it. It looks like they're not going to cancel it. They're going to have it in 2021. And I was like, okay, I'll keep an eye out on that. And then as we got closer to it, and I'm kind of looking at it, I'm looking at the website and how well it's put together. And I'm like going, wow, this kind of looks like fun. I mean, it's not an anime convention. It's something totally different. Something I've never been to. I've been to Comic-Cons. I've been to a handful of science fiction festivals. But I've never been to a gaming convention. It's never happened. So I was like, I wonder how this is. This looks interesting, but will I have fun? And so I pulled the trigger on it. I said, what the hell? Let's do it. Brett and I went in on a Airbnb, which turned out to be really nice, right outside of Indianapolis. You'll see a picture of that in the video where we stayed. So yeah, I got out there, flew out there. I'm not big on planes, so that kind of tells you how eager I was to go to an in-person convention. So, did the flights, had to do connecting flights, the whole 9 yards, but got there. And so this is my impressions of Gen Con. Okay, so before we start about the fun stuff about Gen Con, like the panels and the things I experienced and stuff like that, let's talk a little bit about their organization and about the building. So let me start off with the building. So the Indianapolis Convention Center is located downtown Indianapolis, which is the flattest town I've ever seen in my life. Like, there are no hills, there's no whatever's, and like, you're not going up and down, or everything's like a grid, and it's just very, very flat. It's the Midwest, so of course it would be flat, right? Everything has a new feel to it, like it's a new city. I live in Baltimore, which is a city that's almost, in about 8 years, it's going to be 300 years old. I think Indianapolis is maybe 200 years old, but even then, it still has this kind of weird new feel to it. So the Indianapolis Convention Center is not so much tall as it is wide. It's pretty wide. My guess is that it's not as big as the Washington Convention Center, but that's okay because of the way that it's configured inside. And it's easy to get around. There's a lot of escalators, there's a lot of elevators, and everything to get to one place to the other seems to make sense. And it goes into other hotels. So like, there will be events in other hotels. Like, you would go through a sky walk, like we used to have here in Baltimore. Go through a skywalk and go to the Westin Hotel, and there would be a couple things there that you could do. A lot of the anime stuff was over there. So yeah, it was very. So the building itself is nice and clean and very up to date. The only problem I would say about the building is that it's really hard to get a signal inside of there. It's like the dealer's room at Otaku. It's the one place where you can't get any reception, and it's really hard. And for some reason, the majority of the building is like that. I'm not sure why. Anyway, so the building itself, interestingly laid out. I will say that the lobby is smaller than anything else I've encountered. And I can only imagine that when attendance is at its normal level, keep in mind this is the first time they've been able to do this since COVID, so naturally the numbers are going to be down. So Brent, who I went with, explained to me that's more like a 75,000 person con. So I can just imagine how packed it would be in there. So let's get into the organization of getting your badge and setting yourself up for things and stuff like that. The badge, of course, any convention nowadays, it's really behooves you to get the badge mailed to you, so you don't have to wait in line if you don't need to. For example, I'm going to reference to Otaku a lot. Otaku is the line convention, as one of their own people said, which I thought was kind of interesting. Gen Con, I think, manages it better. They do a better better way of line managing and badge mailing, simply because of the way they do things. So if you go to their website, and I'll have the link down below, you can look at it now. It's active, and you can kind of see how it works, and you'll be very pleasantly surprised. At first, it's going to seem like, oh my god, this is really confusing. But once you learn how to use the filter fields, it becomes really easy, and then you kind of figure out the brilliance of it, which is the majority of the events and the majority of the things that you do are ticketed. Okay, so at Otakon and a lot of other conventions, you just kind of show up and you go to the thing. And sometimes, depending on the popularity of the thing, you might have to wait in line, right? So what they do here is they go, well, to avoid these long, huge-ass lines where people get frustrated and they don't know if they're going to be able to get in or not, let's make it simple by saying it's a ticketed event. Okay? So that means that there's only X amount of tickets available for that event. So you go online, right? And if you really want to go to that event, then you click on it and it puts it into your cart. The vast majority of these things are generally free, so they're just like one free ticket, so you don't have to pay anything. So there's a lot of stuff you don't have to pay for, but there are things that you do have to pay for, and generally speaking, the cost of a ticket is $2. Now, these things that you pay for are kind of worth it insofar that they might be, if you're a gamer, like, you enjoy doing games, you might want to see, like what I wanted to see, which was The Boys, Here Comes the Pain board game. If you like the Boys comic, or if you saw the TV show and you like that, and you might be interested in the board game, it's a new thing where you're being demoed, where you get to sit down and actually play the game before it's released to the public. So yeah, is $2 worth that? I think so. There is an actual short film festival that goes with Gen Con, and that's, again, you get you pay $2 for that. So you kind of get the idea. So some of these things you pay $2 for. Now, that's for the specific events. Now, there are other things that you can do, right, that might require some tickets. So what do? You go online and you order more tickets. A general admission ticket is $2, and you can get as many as you want, for as much as you're willing to pay for. I did about 10 or 12 of them. That seemed to do the trick for what I wanted to do. So by having these tickets and going to these things, basically what that means is that I have a ticket for this specific event, which means I have a specific seat at that event. Well, not, like you don't have a numbered row seat, but you know that you're going to be able to get in there and sit down in a chair and enjoy whatever it is, as opposed to waiting outside and wondering if you're going to get in or not. And that's the beauty of the ticketing system. Now, for the ones that that don't have that, that basically just says, oh, you can come in here, but you're going to need a ticket, and if there's room. So if there's room and you have a ticket, then you can get in, right? If you don't have a ticket, you can't get in. It's very simple logic. They're not going to let you in without a ticket. Everything needs a ticket, just about. So you get the idea. So that's their line management. That's how they take care of the lines. And while I was there, the only really big line that I saw, the really huge line that I saw there, was for the short film festival. And again, that was because everyone was just waiting in line to see what kind of best seat they could get, not whether or not they could get in. That's very important. So anyway, you get the idea. And and you might go, oh, I have to pay for things. It's really not that much when you stop and think about it, okay? Especially for what you are getting. So, like, for example, when you go into the gaming room, where you just walk into this huge room and there's these piles of board games, and you can just walk in with they scan your ID and to make sure that you are who you are, and every time you get a game, you check it out, and they check out your ID. And to get in there is like, maybe 3 or 4 tickets, whatever, depending on what time you go in. And you're in there for 4 hours, and you can come and go as you please. So it's really kind of worth it to do these tickets. So these tickets do have appropriate value. And they're only $2 a piece. I mean, come on, folks, right? So here's the thing. What happens if you decide at the last minute to go to Gen Con, and at the last minute you do your ticket orders, and at the last minute you go, oh, you know what, just in case there's something else I want to do, I'm going to buy 5 additional general admission tickets, so at $10. And you do that, and you have to pick everything up at will call. So you go to the will call, and I'm sure next year there will be much more of a line. When I showed up, there was like 5 people ahead of me, and that was it. And yeah, you're probably going to have to wait a little bit, but once you get it, it's done. It is done. All right. Well, here's the other thing. There's no bag check. Okay, so they're not checking your bags. That's another thing. You can come and go as you please through any exit. There's no exit only doors where you walk out and if the door closes behind you, that's it. You can't get back in. You have to go around to the front, right? No, pretty much everywhere is you can come in and out at any time. You just have to have the magic badge. So they're very lax on that kind of thing. So it's not, you don't have to worry too much about that. So if you want to go outside, and get something to eat, which I encourage you to do because I'm going to tell you about something really cool there in a second, you can just walk outside and walk back in whatever door you came in and out of. Easy peasy. So, there's that consideration. So the overall organization of it, in terms of you being able to move around, of you being able to get your badge and your tickets and line management, very impressed. I wish I could do more, like show a video of it and have somebody maybe do a little better explanation than I can. Very, very much impressed by it. The quality of the stuff that goes on around there. There is very little there that is kind of like a meh kind of panel, all right? Either, everyone's there for a purpose. And you might go, well, that's the panel for any type of convention. Yeah, true, but you can kind of tell when people are dialing it in or not. So when you go to Gen Con, that's the other thing, is that the vibe of Gen Con is a lot different. There's very little in terms of a lot of younger people. There are very few people under the age of 15 there, first of all. The age group of between 15 and 18 is not that much bigger, and it's pretty much 20 on up. So if you're an older otaku who likes to, maybe do some gaming and that kind of fun, this is definitely a convention that is age appropriate for you. So there are different kinds of panels and different kinds of things that you can do, and I'll lump them into this. So panels, yes, there are just your basic panels. They talk about gaming, talk about the history of gaming. Brett and I went to one that was actually pretty interesting, and we decided to see his next one after that, about the history of TSR and the sale of TSR and what happened. It was very, very interesting. So you have those kinds of panels, but not a whole lot of people go to the panels. You have basically exhibitions, and these exhibitions are of companies that are providing a new game. They're saying, hey, we got this great thing going on, and we know you like this, so why don't you come out and demo this with us? So that's one type of thing that you can go out and do. Another thing is, like I said, there is an anime portion to this where they do actually have a viewing room where Brent and I popped in for a couple hours, and there are some elements, some panel elements, cosplaying certainly, but it's not that big of a deal. This is not an anime convention, it's a gaming convention. Speaking of cosplaying, I didn't see that much, and according to Brent, there should be a lot more, but that's in relation to the amount of people. So, even if this was a packed convention, I have a feeling there would not have been that many people cosplaying in correlation to how many people were there. So that's not a big thing. So that's different than an anime convention. People are there to game, which means that people can be kind of a little bit competitive, but they're also very friendly. Everyone wants to play games. There were a couple times when we sat down in a gaming room and we sat there and someone said, "Hey, can I jump in? That's a 2 to 6 player game. Do you mind if I jump in?" "Yeah, sure, come on in." And it's a lot of fun. You meet new people. So there's that kind of thing. There's also the gaming room, board gaming room, where you walk in. Like I said, you present your ID, it's scanned, and then you go out, you find a game, you get the game, you come back, you check it out like a library book, right? And then you sit there and you play it. That's it. And you can do that. So if you're going there with a bunch of friends, you can try out and look at all these different games and stuff, and it's a lot of fun. I had a ball on that one, and we found some interesting stuff. We found Oregon Trail, the card game, which is literally the same thing as the video game. And I'll just leave it at that. It's just as interesting and frustrating as the video game. But you can try new things. We actually found a Milton Bradley board game from the old arcade game called Berserker, which is just, you'll see the picture of that pretty soon, which is just amazing. Then there's, of course, what I'm going to get into now, the actual dealer's room. Okay? And I'm going to devote some time to this particular thing because I think it's really, really interesting. So the way that they have it set it up at Gen Con, it has multiple entrances and exits that you can go in and out of. So there's probably about 3 that I was aware of. There might be more, but there were about 3 entrances and exits that I went in through to go into the dealer's room. The dealer's room is huge, very big, but it's not in a block. And the way that it's set up is it's almost set up as a bazaar, as a marketplace, as a village almost. Excuse me. And you can go from the exhibit hall where kind of the new games and things and people were set up, the Warhammer and the models and stuff like that. You have direct access into the dealer's room. Yeah, you have to show your badge, right? You have to show your name badge and show that you're supposed to be there. But the doors, it's wide open. So it's not just like a little door that you have to push and everyone squeezes through one little tiny door. It's actually, the front of it is they pull open the partitions that are probably from one end to the other, probably about 100 feet or so. And so people could just walk in, right, and walk out. And then there are doors, in other places that you can walk in and out that are smaller. But generally speaking, there's no feeling of a crunch of being smushed into one like exit, squeezed out of. And like I said, you walk around as if it were like a village, and each parts of it have kind of different things to it and kind of different storefronts, if you will. A lot of places are just like any kind of dealer's room. It's a table, with the banner and the thing that they sell, or things that they sell, whether they be T-shirts or some steampunk stuff or whatever's. And then you get into the actual gaming kind of stores. Some of them are the chain stores where they sell multiple items. Some of them are the actual board game companies themselves, where they have these elaborate presentations. I think Wormwood, was it Worm or Wormwood? One of those two, where they had this like huge, like almost building inside of it, like one story where I think they kept all their stuff in, and then they had this like little area out that was fenced, and they had their product on the inside, and it was just really cool. It just looked like a tavern that you could go into and buy stuff, and everything is pretty accessible. You don't have the feeling of tightness in terms of like how, like at Otakon, some of the ways that you go down, they're kind of really thin. They were really thin. These are a little bit wider. The avenues are a bit wider. And like I said, depending upon the game, if you want to find a book, if you want to find specific types of thing, it's relatively easy to find. They have a way in there where they have these banners that hang down 100, 200, 600. It goes down the line, whatever. And so if you look at your handy-dandy guide or online, you can kind of find it and go, oh, okay, it's that section, blah, and that's where I need to be. And you go there, and there it is. It's not hard to find things around there. One of the interesting things that I did find there that Brent and I just kind of laughed about, I got there a little bit ahead of Brent, and so I kind of explored on my own a little bit. And we found anime, okay, with this like huge anime booth. Huge. Like it took on, like just huge, ginormous. And it had an awesome selection of both Blu-ray and regular DVDs. It had the body pillows. It had the wall scrolls, the this and that and the other thing. And it's this thing of anime that's just sitting right there in the middle of all this medieval stuff and RPGs and board games and all that kind of dice stores and all that kind of stuff. And it was just really kind of odd to see it there. But of course, because I am an otaku, and of course Brent at one point in time he recommended this, I did have to get something there. I know it's weird getting an anime thing at a gaming convention, but that's what I did. So I got what was that, My Dear Marie? I'm not sure if you can see that, but yeah, so got that. So yeah, so that was kind of interesting. Now the thing about it is if you're not from the Midwest area or you don't drive to Gen Con, if you're like me, you had to fly in. There were at least two or three places that I identified that were basically mail, yeah, kind of like FTX, UPS kind of places where you can mail stuff. I limited my purchases greatly because I didn't know what I was going to do. I had no idea if I was going to buy anything. But the thing of it is that as soon as I, walked in there, I was like, I'm going to buy everything. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to buy everything. I didn't. So the only other swag that I got from there was Nations and Cannons about RPGing the Revolutionary War. So there's that. Looking forward to playing this. Kind of interesting. But like I said, there's pretty much, if you're looking for it and you're a gamer, board gamer, you're going to find it here. And that's the other part of this of this amazing dealer's room, is that I'm kind of hard pressed to say that if you are into X gaming, I'm hard pressed to say that you're not going to find something associated to that. It may not be exactly what you're looking for, but you'll find things associated to it. So I was really impressed with the people who were there. I did not really see that much of a artist alley kind of thing. I mean, there were people there who were definitely artists, and they presented stuff, and it was a small part of it is towards the back. Some of it was beautiful, honestly. So a lot of it's very talented. The book portion I kind of walked through briefly, and it was that was the only thing I wasn't really impressed with in terms of the dealer room, was that the authors who were there were trying to sell me books that had plots that were just so generic, and they were like offering them to me as if they were like the newest thing. It's a heist within a heist. Literally, that was said to me. Oh, and I have this unique story about a philanthropist billionaire who was wronged. We've heard this story before, right? So that was the only thing that I did. I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. I'm gonna not deal with this. So that was the only complaint I had with the dealer's room. But it's really not a complaint, is it? No, not really. It's just not my thing. So yeah, the dealer room was amazing. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about this, and then I'm going to wrap this up. Okay, so at this point, I'm just going to kind of wrap things up, just talk about a couple individual things real quick, and basically just go ahead and give you my recommendation that you should go to Gen Con if you can. Find a way to get there. You'll enjoy it. You'll have a lot of fun. I'm going to go back again next year and have more fun, and maybe the crowds will be more, and see what that's like. I was very fortunate to have Brent Newhall as a tour guide through Gen Con. That helped, and that was a lot of fun playing games with him. Brent, if you're watching it, had a great time. So yeah, go. So a couple odds and ends about Gen Con. One of the things about food, you can get food there. It is, like I said, very expensive. You can get Cokes from a machine for $4 a piece. $4 for a 12 ounce for this size. So yeah, have fun with that. There are restaurants close by to the convention center. Some of them are kind of hoity-toity. Brent and I went to one that was actually really quite good, in a bar that they barrel their own old-fashioned drinks and age them, which is kind of interesting. Anyway, so we had a good dinner there, a wonderful dinner actually. And but here's the really cool thing, is that the city is so in tune with Gen Con, and they've been doing it for so long here, that there is a place right across the street from the main entrance, practically, of the convention center. That's a strip, and that's where they hold, like city events, right? So there are food trucks down there. Yes, food trucks. So if you're going to pay a lot of money for food, why not get some interesting food? So I had a couple of great burgers down there. I had an olive burger, which was awesome. They had things like Thai food. They had ice cream, cupcakes, pizza, of course, Rebel Pizza, which we thought was an interesting name for some reason. There was a beer garden. There was a soda guy who was selling like those tin cups, and and like he had barreled soda you can buy and drink from that, and there was all sorts of kind of stuff down in there. So again, even though you're going to pay the same amount that you are in the convention center, at least it's interesting food as opposed to here's your mystery meat sloppy Joe kind of thing. With we're going to serve it right on top of the potato chips and a really limp pickle. Um, anyway, so you have food options. That's the interesting thing, is that there are definitely food options. You're gonna pay for them, but they're there and they're pretty good. So that was kind of nice to know. A warning: if you go and you're leaving on the day that the Colts are playing, the stadium is literally not right next door. So Lucas Oil Field is literally right next door. We found out that the hard way, and we had a little stressful time trying to get back to the airport because they closed off roads. Yeah, so make sure that's part of your planning when you go. Okay, so I'm going to wrap this up and say to you, go to Gen Con because it's worth it. It's worth the plane ticket. It's worth getting the hotel room. It's worth all of that. It's just a fun time. I had a great time. So glad I did this. I think I really needed this trip too. I was trying to go a little from work. Um, anyway, so go to Gen Con. It's worth it. Watch OnCon. I'm going to make the swag OnCon video and the Gen Con video, like walking around, that kind of stuff. That's going to be part 2 of this. So I hope you'll watch that. And thanks for watching again. And we will see you guys next time. All right.